Hi, welcome to Money Confidence. I'm Crystal Oculi, the Chief Financial Strategist here at Confidence Wealth. And every week I try to bring a topic to you that seems to be the conversation piece during that week. So this week, a lot of the meetings I had, and actually even internal meetings with my team, were all based around couples that are doing their finances separately and the things we should always watch out for and also communicate to make sure that the couples are doing it also the correct way. So more and more, we're seeing second marriages, which makes sense sometimes, where they keep their finances separately because they each have a trust in place. Maybe there were kids in the past and they want to make sure that things are separated, and then they have things that they are doing as joint. So that's one scenario. And then there are scenarios where we have seen couples that have been together for a very long time, but for some reason they're operating their finances separately. Maybe it keeps the arguments out and it just makes things easier, whatever it may be. There's nothing wrong with how you do your finances. Of course, it's a lot easier from my perspective when there's a couple and we're doing the finances together, because you're looking at everything holistically together, which is really important. Now, if you're doing it separately, we still have to have that holistic look over everything. What does that mean? So let's say you're operating everything separately, but you're doing your taxes together. So imagine you're in the distribution phase of retirement and we're planning for one of the people in the couple to let's just say Joe and Jenny. So Joe and Jenny are married and we are looking at them, and Jenny wants to convert some of her Roth IRA, but Joe does not. So Jenny decides to go ahead and say, hey, let's look at all of our income for this year and see if there is a window for us to convert, 30,000 into a Roth. And then everything looks good. But then we find out that Joe, although was not interested in conversion, he ended up taking a distribution out that he never communicated to Jenny. And if that happens, then that just brought the tax bracket up, Jenny not realizing it and converting money at a much higher tax rate because unknowingly this occurred. So these are the things that can be very hard when you are doing your finances separately if you don't communicate together. That's just one example. There are so many other examples, such as, let's say you both have retirement funds and there is an account that everyone is paying into. What if one of you has not saved enough and at some point is going to run out of money? Well, what's going to happen? Is the other one going to step in and cover it? If that communication has not happened, are there going to be issues in the future? So although it's fine to do your finances separately, when it works successfully is when it's still brought up together based on each individual goals, and then looking at everything holistically together to make sure that the income stream looks fine for all parties looking to do what they need to do for the future. And the tax planning aspect is also right. You also have to be aware that even if you're doing your finances separately, you may be relying on each other's income in retirement. So if God forbid something happens to one of you and one of the income goes away, then what happens? So these are the things that needs to be still addressed as a couple together, because we just don't want to have things so separated. Now, if you're at the point that you're doing maybe your taxes separately as well, and you really don't want to share anything, it happens, we come across situations like that. Maybe find that aspect we keep separate, but you still have to communicate certain things that are still relying on each other, right? The parts that, even though we're doing finances separately, that can affect each other in the future. So again, I want to put this out there and say it is so important to sit together and make sure that you define that fine line of what that separation means, and then communicate that to your team so everyone's on the same page. One of the things that we do when we have a couple that does things separately, in a sense, we counsel them, we financial counsel them the right way to make sure they understand the in and out and they're communicating the correct way with each other. It takes time and effort. I know my team puts a lot of effort into that. I don't know necessarily if that gets done everywhere. So if you're listening to this and you're not a current client and you're like, hey, my advisor never even brought this up, these are the things you may want to talk to Confidence Wealth about, so you can make sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted. Again, to everyone, to each its own. And, I want to empower everyone to do what financial is right for them. But I also want you to understand that when two people are together and they're working on a life goal together, they may have separate goals, but then they have a common goal as well. So that's where it's important to come together and make sure that you're doing things that are beneficial to each other's situation, and it's a win-win for everyone. If you have any other questions or you have any comments about this subject or things you have come across and you're always wondering about, I would love to hear it, because I think this is something that is more and more what we're seeing happen than in the past. So it really is important for us to see what all the issues are and even be sure to address them. In the meantime, until next week, have a great one.